If you can hear that beep, it is happening somewhere around me, not where I am. So I have absolutely no control over when it will stop, which is just great. Hi y'all, this is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. And it is time for another What I Bought episode. If you are new to this series, I like to share where I'm putting my money in terms of book buying. My intention is to really prioritize or be more conscious about authors of color and queer stories, and sometimes I hit it and sometimes I don't. This video is for all the books that I purchased in September of 2025. Altogether, I ended up with 54 books that I purchased with my own monies. I honestly don't know how that happened. I felt like I was really reasonable, and then in the last 7 days, either a bunch of pre-orders came out or special editions that I ordered came in. It just somehow went from, reasonable to 54 in a matter of days. At least that's what it felt like to me. My notes are up there as well. Of these books, 15 of them only, I'm so surprised with how that happened, were by authors of color. So I failed hard. Only 27.78% of those books were by authors of color. And I do blame the special editions, but hey, I ordered the special editions. I need to be more cognizant about what special editions I'm getting because they can come at any time. And then 10 books were queer stories. As far as I know, I've been finding a lot, and I'm so happy about it, of my MF books are actually MF stories with one or both main characters being queer. And I don't want to erase their queer identities, but as of this moment, as far as I know, only 10 of the books are queer stories, which is 18.52%. If you don't listen to my reading wrap-up episodes of the podcast, which you can also find here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts, I shared my overall numbers for authors of color and queer stories, which are, again, notes are behind you, 153 books by authors of color and 80 queer stories. So I feel like I've done a good job of adding a significant number of books to my own personal library. And the reason I'm searching so hard for these books and smut in general is because of the rhetoric being pushed around by the current administration, which threatens material they deem unfit. And if you look at the books being banned, and if you look at the way these decisions and these laws and these bills are being written, it impacts not just anything explicit, but specifically targets queer stories and works to silence authors of color, which is why I'm trying hard to spend my money and collect these books for not just myself, but for the future. So grab your comfort beverage of choice. Mine is water. Today. It's really boring. Unfortunately, I picked the loudest of glasses, so I will drink between takes. My comfy sexy in these videos is a special edition t-shirt that goes with one of my special edition boxes, which I will show later. Let's get started. In these videos, I typically have multiple categories. Books that I got as trophies, meaning I read them in some or the other medium. Recently, it's been a lot of ARCs, but also library books, audiobooks, some other shape or form. Books by authors that I already have or series I'm continuing. Books that I've gotten at events, such as author signings or book conferences. New to me authors, special editions, and this month I have a few gifted books. So I didn't spend my personal money on them, but they were given to me and they are now part of my collection, and I do want to show you what those are. The first category is straight up trophies. Yes, I have the same book here twice. The theme of this is really we listen and we don't judge any of these book haul videos. It Had to Be Him by Adib Khorram. I have 2 copies. Yes, I do. I read this book as an ARC. I had pre-ordered this book through an online system, and it was going to get to me after the release date. However, I then became aware of an event where I was going to be seeing Adib, and I wanted a physical copy to bring and have him sign. So I went to my local bookstore on the day of the release and picked up a copy. So I have 2 copies. I don't regret it. at all. This is definitely a book worth having 2 copies of, so I'm good with this. This second book is also an ARC. This is Ladies in Hating by Alexandra Vasti. This is the 3rd book in this series. I don't know if it's going to be more. I believe it's just these 3. I also read this as an ARC and ordered a copy for the release of it. Not just because it's sapphic historical, but also to complete my trilogy by her. So now I have all 3 of them. There were a lot of author events this month, 2 conferences, and quite a few signings. I'm going to go through my signings first. These are all the books that I got at single or double author signing events. I'm going to go in order of event. I went to a double author event first. I know them from very different things, but they were in conversation with each other because they both had the second book in their series coming out. And I was just an idiot and didn't realize it. I thought it was just for one of them, and so I was going to get 1 book. And then it was actually for both of them, so I got both books. And that was why the tickets were so expensive. But then I realized that they were both the second book in their series, so then I had to get the first book. And they're all hardcovers. Why? Veronica Roth's books, though, are adorable. I love the size of this hardcover. It's basically the size of a paperback, which feels a lot more manageable in my hand. The books are When Among Crows and To Clutch a Razor. These are the 2 books. I believe there's supposed to be a third one. I don't 100% remember. No, I have not read it. But I also never read Divergent. I was past that in my reading. I was reading romance, adult romance, when that book came out, and I never went back to that. So I'm excited to see and be introduced to her as an adult author. This is not the first time I've heard her speak. I've seen her in conversations with other authors because she is local to Chicago. And so I'm excited, and I've heard good things about this, that I get to be introduced to her with this series special stickers. This is Duology, might be more, by Holly Black. Holly Black I also know mainly from YA or even new adult romance. I believe this is straight up adult, so trying something different for her as well. These are pretty thin hardcovers. It's nice because hardcovers are typically big chunking bricks of a book, and I feel less intimidated by these 2. She was also really fun to listen to. Their conversation, I have to say, was just a delight to watch. They are very intelligent, very passionate, and very fun together. It was just a great evening. My only complaint, and this is not a them thing, both of them showed up in black, and the venue we were at was also decorated in black, so it was just not easy to see them against the black backdrop. It was kind of like floating heads, which is not a them problem. I don't think they based their outfits on the venues. They just wore what they were comfortable with, which happened to be black. The next book event I went to was with Senlin Yu, Alchemized. I knew very little. I knew what this was or inspired by. I knew the history of that book. And this was just a dialogue. There were no audience questions. There wasn't a photo line, a signing line, anything. And I think what I really took away from this conversation, because I was intrigued to see how Senlin Yu would handle the conversation, especially given everything that happened over the summer, was how different this seems like it's going to be from the original manuscript. And that my understanding is she took her original idea and then said, I'm going to create something different, and queried that new world. So it was never necessarily going to be serial numbers scraped off. This is a completely different world. She has put in so much work with it. She was describing the research that she did, describing the ways that she made it different, and set the type of relationship that she wrote in that original work in here. And I haven't read the original work. I haven't read it. I almost don't want to. I think I want to read this. I don't know if it's going to be considered a romance. It seems like it's more dark gothic than anything else. And she said a lot of really interesting things, like the reason there are no sprayed edges. She didn't want it to be confused with romantasy. And some of the ways that she introduced the book and started the book, that she wants you to know right away that this is not a fun, fluffy romantasy. This is dark, and it starts off that way, which I appreciate. I mean, of course, I love a sprayed edged, but The fact that it was a really intentional decision that was made by the author and the publisher, especially Senlin Yu, they really worked on that, makes me feel like this is a true labor of love and something creatively that is exciting. If you've read it, let me know. If you've read the original work, let me know. The last single author event was Jamie Applegate Hunter for the recent books in her series, Tragically Yours. They didn't have the first one. I'm gonna have to get it online. It's also on KU. I might just read it that way. Jamie Applegate Hunter is someone who a friend of mine is obsessed with from a different series of hers. And one of the most fun parts of the conversation with Jamie was also the research and the thought that she puts into her fantasy worlds, like how she won't use the word trigger because that implies a certain type, it comes from a certain type of weaponry, that if it's not in her world, you wouldn't have the word trigger. And so she thinks really hard and does quite a bit of research to make sure that her worlds make sense to her. She also really implies the smut heavily in this series, so I am excited for the smut that seems to be in these books. I love a good smut. I went to 2 big book events. One was Smut Lovers, which I went to last year. It's in Orlando. I'll talk about it later. But the first one I'm just going to go with, it was in Milwaukee. The actual books that I have come from Meet Me on North, and I was originally going to go to a different event up there. It's fine. It's fine. Behold the books from Meet Me on North. Andrea Anderson was an author I did not know, but she was on a panel that I went to about smut, and I enjoyed her rhetoric and the way that she spoke about smut and consent and sex and how that's portrayed in her writing. And so when I went to her table, I wanted to get something of hers to celebrate that viewpoint and how she showcases it. And so I got these 2, Melted by a Man and Written by a Woman. And I have to say, I think it was this title that really sold me, because isn't that the best part of love interests in these stories, is that they're the fantasies of women written for women for the most part. And she sprayed the edges herself. I continued my Avery Flynn series with Head Witch in Charge. She is a delight. She is so much fun whenever I've met her. I think this is the 3rd time I've gotten to meet her. I have What You Gonna Do, which is the first book in this series, and this book came out right before the event in Milwaukee. So I was able to get it up there. I was able to get it signed and have another lovely conversation with her. Up next is Hannah Tate Beyond Repair by Laura Piper Lee. I actually have a different book of hers, a later book of hers that I brought, and I went, you know what, I should get the first one. I should get the first book. Laura Piper Lee, I know, does prefer or does tend to write queer FMCs in MF couples, and while I'm not 100% sure that's the case in this book, I believe it is in the second book, the one that I already had, hence why I got it. I don't know. This is the Inferno Rising series by Abigail Owen. I first saw this signing special edition set in London when I said I was not going to get any more books. So when I saw it again in Milwaukee, I went, I have to, because look at this. Look at this. It was the last set that she had on her, so I felt really lucky that I was able to get it because I'd wanted it. I think it's beautiful. I think the story is going to be fun. She is so sweet. I actually have seen her again since the event in Milwaukee, and she remembered me, and it was just like such a lovely time to, like, I love getting to connect with these authors and get to know them more and spend more time with them. But this series was one that I wanted in London, and so I was really grateful that she had sets with her in Milwaukee. These are all the books that I came home with from Smut Lovers. As part of my ticket, I got these 5 novellas in my welcome bag. I have not read anything by any of these authors. I do not know what these stories are, but I did technically spend money on my ticket and got these books in return. So I'm going to share the title and the authors with you. Fixing Olivia by Bay Sinclair. Gotten by the Gator, a Fated Dates novella by Lizzie Strong. Shannon Elliott's Heal. Good Boys Misbehave. The Burning Man by Ashley Michelle. Filthy by Nikki Rome. I love Nikki. I have read things by Nikki before. I know nothing about any of these books, any of these novellas, but money was spent and they were acquired. The one and only book that I pre-ordered for Smut Lovers is The Chronicles. I have the one from last year too. This is an anthology that they make every year that raises money for their charity of choice. Typically their charities, at least last year and this year, go to support queer youth in Florida where this conference takes place. It's got a ton of authors. There are 18 stories in this book by 18 different authors. So while it is a chunk, each story is very, very short, and it was for charity. The Rugby Lover series by Sloane Spencer. Sloane Spencer is an author that I've been hearing a lot about, who does super fun things, was also on the Smut panel in Milwaukee, but by the time I got to Sloane's table at the Milwaukee event, she had sold out of all of her books. So she was one of the first authors I went to at Smut Lovers. I told her in Milwaukee that I was going to be at Smut Lovers, and it was fun to talk to her. This is her rugby series. As I said, there's queer, there's plus size, there's kink representation. I again really resonated with how she talked about sex in that panel and the conversations I got to have with her about it afterwards. So I'm excited to see this series, which I believe is her most recent series, how it turns out. This one is inspired by Ilona, the rugby player Ilona. I don't remember her last name. Yeah. Do you need to know anything more than that? One of the reasons I love Smut Lovers so much is that it's slightly different than other book conferences because we're there for 2 days of panels of learning. You really get to know people who are there learning with you. One of the authors that I've gotten to know is Chimmy Hill Burton, Mistress or Mama, depending on which book you're reading. And she writes femdom. She's a woman of color and she writes femdom, and she's been on a couple panels, and I got to hang out with her for an afternoon for a bit of time, and I love it. There's also another book person that I know, the Well-Read Nurse. Her name is Lo, and Lo was reading a snippet from this book and gasped in a way that made me know I needed to read this book, but I also wanted to read more femdom. This is a mommy situation, and this is a femdom situation, and I feel like there aren't a lot of femdoms, and certainly not a lot of femdoms written by people of color, and so I want those stories because those stories are real and they deserve to be told. So I'm very excited. I think this is queer and this is not, but I'm not sure. I forgot about this category. This is the doubles category. Gabriella and His Grace by Liana De La Rosa and Give Me a Reason by J.C. Lee were both books that I purchased last month in August. They also came in my Steam box. I really need to look at my Steam box when they announce what the books are because I had already pre-ordered these, and so now I have 2 copies. I'm not mad about it. And I had already pre-ordered a copy of Alchemized before they made the announcement that they were going to be on tour near me, so I had forgotten about that one. So now I have 2 copies of this brick. Another teeny tiny category is books gifted to me, and I figure I'll just get these out of the way. This is what I probably will end up doing with some of the doubles that I have, because actually not just this one, but both of these came from a friend who was purging or going through her book collection and realized she had doubles of these books and said, hey, do you want them? And I went, sure, why not? So this one is The Gilded Heiress by Joanna Shupe. It is a historical Anastasia retelling, and this is one of Holly Black's books. I think it's actually not the first one in the series. I feel like it's in the middle of it. There's no list in here. I have no idea where this goes in her series. A friend of mine, when we were going to the Holly Black event, said, I actually found out that I have 2 versions of this. Do you want one? And I said, sure, why not? Add it to my Holly Black collection. So get yourself some friends who also accidentally buy doubles and trade. The last book in this is Chemistry Read by Sabrina Burns. I was so fortunate to be a beta reader for her for this book, and I was planning to buy myself a copy. I have Come Here to Me, her first book. She is a friend of mine. I felt so lucky that I got to read. First time I got to beta read a book, and she actually sent me a book as a thank you, and I am in the acknowledgements. So if you read this book, know that I am in here. So exciting. Okay, last teeny tiny pile, shockingly, is New to Me authors. This is the only New to Me author book that I bought in September. I know that I don't know why I'm not buying as many New to Me author books. I feel like both August and September had very limited numbers of them. This is Ladylike by Mackenzie Lee. It is a sapphic historical romance novel, and I'm obsessed with this color of a cover. When I typically have New to Me authors, what I like to do is share the back of the book, because if they're new to me, they might be new to you, and I want to drum up some interest. Worlds collide dramatically and hilariously when 2 women decide on the very same duke as their best possible chance at a tolerable husband and a secure future. But instead of becoming enemies, they find their true heart's desires are more compatible than they could have predicted. And it's blurred by Emily Henry, Julia Quinn, India Holton, TJ Alexander, Evie Dunmore, and Martha Walters, who are all great and I have on my shelves. I feel like I've read everyone but Martha Walters, and I have books by Martha Walters. We're going to do this as one big pile. These are authors that I already have in my book collection, either because I've read them, I'm continuing the series, it's a new series by the author, or I already bought the book but I haven't read the series and I want all the books to match. We Listen and We Don't Judge. Speaking of We Listen and We Don't Judge, this is the next book by Aurora Asher in the series. I have not read any of them. I have all of them. This is my fourth one, and it matches because they all have pretty sprayed edges all the way around. Yeah. Amy Dawes is an author that I have read. Her books are now being published by Trad, and they're coming out with these really fun sprayed edges. I don't believe this is part of the series I already have. It might be. It's a series about brothers, but I've just been buying up the Amy Dawes books that are coming out because I've enjoyed her both as a person and as an author. This is The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Kate. Sarah Kate can do no wrong, in my opinion. I love this floppy book. It feels super floppy and I love it. It's also got these beautiful sprayed edges. I have not finished the Salacious Players Club, and so this is the second generation. I'm not going to read it until I finish the original. The Most Unusual Haunting of Edgar Lovejoy. This is by Roan Parrish. I read The Holiday Trap by Roan Parrish and I thought it was adorable. It was spicy. Some of it was spicy, some of it was not. It wasn't 100. It didn't feel like the two couples in that book got even amounts of spice, but I wanted to see what they wrote next. So here we go. And look, it's a Victorian house with a pride flag on it. Queer. I knew it was going to be queer because it's Roan Parrish. Speaking of queer, this is a now traditionally published duology or trilogy by Emily Rath. It's a historical Why Choose poly situation. I think it's one woman, three men, and they're being released with beautiful sprayed edges. I love Emily Rath. I should read my next Jacksonville Ray's book first, but this is a new series of hers that came out, and so I got it. I think I just assumed that this was within the holiday tropes. I don't know why, but it's not. This is separate from her Holiday Princes series, The Entanglement of Rival Wizards. I've also heard this is the spiciest of the books that she's written so far, which I'm very excited about. And the covers are great. The titles are great. Like I said, I thought it was a continuation of the Princess series, which is why I initially ordered it, but I'm not mad that I have it. This is The Princess and the PI by Nikki Payne. I am so excited to read this book. An amateur online sleuth must enlist the help of a jaded PI to clear her name in this exhilarating romantic suspense novel. I was obsessed with Pride and Protest. I still need to read Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, but I love Nikki Payne, and I'm so excited to read this book. Oh, just like look at the cover. It's stunning. It's stunning. This is going to go in my TBR pile and not just on my shelf because I want to read it ASAP. I'm a little annoyed at Tessa Bailey because I think I said this the last time, the first two books in this series did not have sprayed edges and now these do. I've heard mixed things about this series of hers, so I don't know. I hope it's only one more. But if you've read it, let me know. I've liked books of Tessa Bailey's before, so I don't feel hopeless about this series. I just don't like that the first two books will never match the last books. Maybe I should have just waited and gotten the not sprayed edges. This is People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. I have all four of Hannah Bonham Young's other books. I have not read any of them, but enough people are obsessed with them and have told me her writing is fantastic that I just wanted to keep going with her. I don't know, there's something about having a book and knowing like I could just pick it up when I'm ready that is very comforting in some ways. Love at First Fright by Nadia El Fassi. I don't know if I said that right. I have Best Hex Ever by her, and I thought this was a really fun concept, a really cute story, and sometimes I am in a witchy mood. I am, and I want witchy things to read when I'm in the witchy mood. Anathema by Carrie Lake. I read Nocticadia and I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that book. And now they're all being released with beautiful sprayed edges as these special editions via Trad. Bloom picked them up. And so I am getting some of Carrie Lake's books. I have not read this one, but I did read Nocticadia. And oddly enough, that book is being printed later, even though I think this book came out later. I could be wrong about that, but like I said, I read Nocticadia and not this one. The last book in this category is The Dragon Wakes with Thunder by KX Song. The first book in the series is The Night Ends with Fire, and the second book, it also has beautiful sprayed edges, though it's completely different coloring than this book. It's a bright red book. These, again, are not intimidating hardcovers, which I like, and I wanted to get a song that matches. As you can see, this is also inspired by Asian mythology. I think it's actually Chinese mythology. That's a different mythology that I don't know much about, and I really enjoy reading it. I can suspend my disbelief, and I'm not comparing as much when I know less about a book. These are all the special editions I got. Yes, I'm showing you the pretty sprayed edges. This is why I get special editions. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. The teacher goes with my Probably Smut edition of Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. It is a naked hardcover, no sprayed edges, but that's okay. It's a completely unique hardcover. And as per usual, I like to show you both the tabs that it comes with and the stickers that it comes with. All of these match, and I kind of keep them all together. This is Kings of the Boardroom by Nana Malone. This is actually the series that I should have read before High Stakes and the first book in that series. This is the original Arthur Guinevere retelling. It is stunning. It's a special edition. You can see the beautiful sprayed edges. It doesn't just have sprayed edges and gold foiling. It has art inside that I cannot show you. I enjoy it. This is probably the tamest thing that I can show you. There are less tame art is in here. And I now get to read the first 3 books in that series. Though, honestly, if you've watched my reviews of the other series, the next series, you don't actually have to read the first books to understand the second series. So, it's up to you. I bought Assistant to the Villain, the special edition hardcover. I loved this book. I really did. I really loved this book. It's a naked hardcover. It's got pretty foil on the edges. It's only the second edition I have of it, which is kind of surprising. And it's got beautiful artwork on the inside as well. I do kind of wish the end papers were different, but if that's my biggest complaint, if you haven't read Assistant to the Villain, there's no spice, but it is a rollicking good time. This is also a traditionally published special edition. I think these books just came at the wrong time for me. They're both the Love Society book, which is only once a month, but it's both Burn Bright by Krista and Becca Ritchie and Chasing Shelter by Catherine Cowles. I have other books by both of these authors. The Love Society, I feel like, is one of the least sexy book subscriptions that I have for these special editions. It's paperback, it's just unique covers, but they are also the most affordable one that I have. I'm gonna reevaluate all of my special edition book boxes and book boxes in general in early 2026. Stay tuned for that. This is the Skyland series by Kennedy Ryan. So before I let go, This Could Be Us, Can't Get Enough, and the edges line up. And the ends are different. So while the long edges all form this beautiful picture, each book retains their uniqueness along the way. And I love that the gradient kind of follows along with it. I loved this series so much. If you haven't read Kennedy Ryan, you really need to. I love it. I love what Cover Snob did with this. Ooh, what did I do? What did I do to my book? Don't tell Caitlin. If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden, I don't know why I bought it. I don't know. I have no better explanation. But I do like the edges. I think I was reading about Kate Golden and I saw that this book was coming out with them and I said, but as of this moment, I have no recollection why this book got ordered. And then the last Bad Women books is their romantasy subscription. So once a quarter, they're going to send fully unique special editions of fantasy books or romantasy books. This is Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer Armentrout, which I have read, which I have really enjoyed, and it's got this beautiful special dust jacket. Let's just look at their faces for a moment. Oh, and it came with like a note. And the sprayed edges are stunning. And I really like the size of this book. The full hardcover is bigger. This is like a mini hardcover, which is lovely. My only wish is that I knew when the next book in the series was coming out. That is everything that I purchased in the month of September. Let me know if you got any of these books yourself, which ones you think I should read first, which ones you think I've probably already read since you're seeing this kind of mid to end October-ish. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can find out what I bought in the month of October and so on. And until next time, this is Jace holding space for you.